So scanning the comments a little bit earlier, there was one that popped out especially from the others, which I said, "Oh, that's a perfect little topic to discuss." I should have screenshotted it and given the guy credit for saying it. But the gist of the comment was basically like saying, "What do you do when you have a bad lift?" You know, it's like, how do you? Well, I guess part of it was like, how do you get through a bad lift, and like, what makes some of your lifts off? You know, what's going to throw you off? Very reasonable fucking question there. So, what do you think? What messes up your lifts the most? Is it more of a scheduling thing for you? I mean, for me, I've got, especially if I'm trying to bulk up, I'm very picky with when I actually want to work out. Like, I'm not one to say, I'm not one to say that I have to, like, okay, I'm lifting at 6 p.m. every day. Let's lock into this routine. It's like it's not so rigid as that, but I do want to wait a little bit of wait enough time after my last meal before I go work out, because I want to have some extra carbs floating around in me. If I just eat something, I'm not going to go work out for at least an hour and a half, depending on like what I like. If it was a real meal, I'm not talking about like a small snack or something. I'm talking like you just slammed 800 calories minimum. That's going to take a second to actually get dealt with before I want to really put my training or my effort into the training. So sometimes sometimes if I have to do a real early lift, like I've had a couple times where I have to, go to the gym at like 6, and we got a whole day like traveling or whatever else afterward. Yeah, that kind of sucks. But even then, it ends up being fine, just because, I know that it's like I know that it's going to be a little bit of a compromised time frame. But what I would try to do is, if I didn't have enough kind of prep time, just make sure that everything that I've got control of, I can try to maximize. Slam a liter of water at minimum with some electrolytes as well. Maybe have some simple carbs, right? Have some sweets. Nothing. I'm not talking like cheesecake. I mean like just straight simple sugars. Pre-workout, I can attest that it does have a little bit of an kind of an energy boosting effect. Nothing crazy, like it's nothing like drinking a coffee or anything. But especially if you're dieting down, even just 50 grams of carbs from like a random treat from the vending machine. I remember I would do that a lot before my workouts after I'd finished my old diving practices. It, night and day difference. You're running on something. You're not running on fumes. But for the most part, getting back to the question, what really messes with me, probably number one, and all of these are kind of in the same category, but I'll kind of go by them one by one, would be if I'm really kind of just fucking sick, because it ends up leading into other problems. But if I'm like dog sick, which happens on occasion, like I'm not immune, but I don't get too sick too bad. But when I do, it's usually pretty rough. Uh, yeah, it's gonna be objectively better. Don't go work out. Now I say that, but then usually I still lift anyway. I'm not sitting sneezing on my fucking hands and touching on the machines or anything like that. I don't want to be a complete, contagion per se. But if your immune system's kind of compromised, your whole body is diverting a lot of energy to trying to sort that out. So now, if you're trying to put maximum output in the gym, and you're already having like half of your power being diverted to other resources or however much, then yeah, that's gonna fuck with you. But apart from that, it's really it really just comes down to poor preparation, poor preparation, poor preparation. So it's like if I didn't drink enough water that day, I can tell my lift itself is going to suffer. If I didn't eat enough food, same thing. But as long as I'm hydrated, usually it's still fine. Didn't get enough sleep, guaranteed lift is probably going to be at least a lower output than if I were completely well rested. And that's all on the physical side of things. But as long as your fluid, food, sleep is all in the green, then you got a pretty solid fighting chance. But what's left, it's beyond the physical. It's your mental state. It's your ability to get excited and kind of forget about anything else that you may be kind of worrying about. I mean, there's probably no chance that you're going to get a crazy set of squats in if 2 seconds ago you got a Canvas notification that you didn't do your something essay, or like some test that you're supposed to do pretty well on, so you pass that class, you totally bombed it. So random kind of distractors, they can sort of infect your mind and take away your focus from the task at hand. And that may not be so important to some people. It depends on how, I don't want to say serious, because two guys can lift in different ways but still be just as serious. But when it comes to really like taking individual sets as hard as you can and making like each set really count, it's not a casual activity. I'm not going to sit here and do a set of tricep pushdowns and during the set really be thinking about anything else but the tricep pushdowns. So if you've got some extra shit on your mind, that's probably just a cue that you need to sort some of your matters out so that you don't have anything stressing you. Because if you do, that's literally a cue that something is wrong, which means you should try to fix it. But apart from that, sometimes shit's just gonna happen. You can't undo it. That's where it helps to be a little bit, maybe not detached from reality, but have an ability to like, okay, this is not a problem I can mess with right now. I can't really do anything to improve at this current moment. Let me just get into a workout zone. Come back to it once I've got the proper facilities. So really, it's kind of hard to say, but if that's you, or if you know somebody like that where they're, let's just say they're fighting demons every workout, I don't think it's the best way to go about it. But really, what ends up messing with me is if I don't drink enough water, if I don't eat enough food, and if I don't get enough sleep. Because if any of those things are out of whack, my lift suffers. But as long as all those things are, in tune, I drank all my water, I got enough food, and I did get a good night's rest, there's nothing stopping me from having a good lift. And even when some of those things are out of whack, I'm still going to go hard just because it almost presents itself as a challenge. Let's say, yeah, I didn't get enough sleep, whatever. I can go hard anyway. So, a little bit of a hard-headed approach, but I think it's legit. So there appears to be a traffic, some kind of something going up here with the cops. That's probably going to end her. So I'll deal with getting through this. Let's get started with some pushdowns. Nice and scenic out with the sunset. Everybody appears to be grinding. It's a nice atmosphere. So, regular rope pushdowns, not the full stack, but as much weight as I can do and still hold and squeeze at the bottom of like at least 10 or so reps. So, I've been liking this as kind of the starter. I've done it all. I've done sets where the first set of tricep is the full stack and like 3 plates with a straight bar, and I'm like really trying to move as much weight as possible, which I like. It's cool. But when my triceps are fresh, you can get a real crazy squeeze, which you can't get once they're kind of pumped up. So I like starting with something a little bit more isolative. So let's get aerials playing. Let's throw this shit around. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh gosh. I like the long eccentric as well. And not, like, I can't say this enough, not just because somebody said so, but I can literally feel my triceps, especially the long head, from my fucking elbow all the way up to my armpit where it connects, Like I can feel it starting to burn as I go slower. So yeah, I've been missing out on fucking at least set intensity from not doing these nice and slow reps. But a few more here. Okay. One more. Take a minute. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's change it up. So this is going to be a little heavier. I'm going to go for the full stack. I mean, just as much weight as I can physically do, since there's not really much adding weight to this machine. But I'm still going to go, controlled squeezing. But this one's going to be on the heavier end of things. Just because those first 3 sets of ropes, like sure, I had a crazy squeeze, but the actual like work loading tension in my triceps wasn't there. So you can have a crazy set of cable flies, but it doesn't have that same tension as like a heavy bench. So this is just a way for me to make sure all my stimuli from each set is different, but close to just as intense. Okay, let's make a drop set. That's a little bit too heavy though. Okay. Oh. Let's just do that drop set and wait for the next set. Well, minus 15 with that little adjuster. Loving the slow hold and the stretch though. It's kind of the theme of today. And this is a personal choice, but I don't like to do these dips with a neutral grip like this. This doesn't do it for me. I mean, it's okay, but I get a lot of chest. So I almost like, and I don't even like just putting my hands flat on the end either. I like turning them in a little bit. Because for me, it helps me feel like I'm pushing the weight sideways using my triceps. Instead of just pushing down, which kind of makes me use a little bit of lower pec. If you can kind of envision what I'm thinking about with my anatomy. But let's get another song playing and keep going. This will be much more squeeze focused. Okay. Let's move on to something else. Let's get some overhead V-bar going. A little heavier than that rope was in the beginning of the lift. Okay. One more. Lighter than that though. Way too fucking heavy. Crazy stretch on my fucking long head though. And by long head I mean like this thicker underside. Okay. Make a little drop set. Okay. All right. I think I just need one more good set of something. I don't want to do another one of these, so let's change it up to... What would you do? See if you're right. I got an idea. So let's do a five rep alternating set. So 5 pushdowns with the right side, 5 with the left. Now the first few are probably just 2 sets. I'll try to squeeze and hold at the bottom. But as I get more and more fatigued, I'm not going to be concerned with making sure every rep gets complete contraction. I'm really just going to be concerned with making sure I go as hard as possible and keep pumping blood into my triceps. So the first portion should be clean, then get a little nastier, then a little nastier, probably with a little bit of body language to force them, then rack it when we're done. Yeah. 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 Oh, that'll be good. Okay. Let's make it extra crazy. Rope drop set. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Whew. All right. That's enough. Triceps are fully fucking cooked. Let's pick some kind of curl to do next. So I gotta warm up some dumbbell curls. You know, very normal opener for me. But I've been liking this kind of same starting movement. And I think the straight bar is an even better bet, because if you've ever done easy bar curls, you would know it's very easy to, I mean, literally in the fucking name, to use some forearms. So this is, there's kind of like a continuum of, let's just say, workload sharing between your biceps and this big chunk of forearm meat right here, which ties in down here in your wrist and comes all the way up to kind of the lower part of your upper arm. So it's responsible for fucking curls. That's why, if you want to work this part of your forearms, you do hammer curls, right? So if you're doing a dumbbell curl where your arm is facing up the entire time, all the way down to the bottom to the top, that's pretty much as much bicep as you can get, at least from a form standpoint. Now, the rest is going to be you trying to like relax this part of your forearm and only squeeze your biceps. But in a form aspect, that's maximum bicep. And the more that your arm gets twisted around all the way to here, which would be maximum forearm, right? This would be a forearm curl. I'm still working biceps, but I'm getting a lot of this. And this is not what I'm aiming for. I'm not hitting forearms, I'm hitting arms. So I think starting with a straight bar is a good bet. And if straight bar curls ever hurt your wrists, then what I would recommend is potentially try to scoot your upper arms in front of your lats like this, so that your hands can actually be parallel with each other. Because you got to think, if my arms are closer like this, my hands are basically in a straight line. Whereas if my arms are beside my lats, you see how they're kind of crooked? So for me to like wrench them into position, it's very unnatural for my wrist. So a little straight bar curl tip, try to put your arms in front of you and turn your arm out as far as possible. That's my Sam form tip of the day. But let's get hyped up for this one. Slow, controlled, squeezing, a good set. Actually, let's go back to the other side. All right. Not a chance. All right. Whew. Jesus. Fucking turns my hands white. One more like that. I may need to decrease the weight. That might be on the heavier end of what I can manage. But either way, one more. Same, if not better intensity. That's my goal. Okay, let's drop some weight low. Okay, one more. Okay. That was pretty nasty. Pretty freaking nasty starter. Let's move on. Let's move on. 2 is good there. Standard machine curls. As heavy as I can go while still being able to seriously squeeze. And of course, as many reps as at least salmonly possible. Boom. No. No. Boom. 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 Okay. One more. Oh my gosh. Boom. Oh yeah. Okay. Woo. Let's do a fancy kind of dumbbell curl set next. Getting close to done though. Let's just go nuts with the 50s. No crazy specific like form or tempo. Just curl, get to the top, have a really big hard squeeze, back down, and just repeat. You're good, man. So let's get real. There we go. Yeah. All right, let's take a second. I'm not done. I just want to make it a rest pause set. Yeah. No. Oh my gosh, okay. Oh, that's good. Holy shit. And with that, another highly successful arm day fucking complete. Triceps being the star of the show, you know, biceps being that crucial, pivotal sidekick kind of character. Because for me, my bicep gains are ahead of my tricep gains. So apart from the fact that I just like starting my arm day with triceps first, I just like it. Maybe I should try a bicep day first and just see, because it's been a while. But I want to start my weaker muscle first, really wreck it, and then once I'm a little more fatigued, I can work on my my stronger point. You know, try to bring everything up everything up in balance, you know, feng shui style. But let's see how we're looking. Oh crap, forgot the measuring tape. Well, next time. Reasonably sweaty as well. There we go. Oh my gosh. Oh, and then the obligatory most muscular. We all know what we're trying to emulate. Maybe 25% of the way there. 25% of the way there with that shot. But arms wrecked. Let's get in the car ASAP and go get some grub into my system. Fucking dying. All right, shoutouts are few and far between. But I heard through the grapevine. That little character from Miss Miller's eighth grade class, Mr. Bronson, made quite the tantalizing presentation. And guess which bodybuilding character was in it? This guy. That is the way to do it, man. Well, at least if you're into working out. So, Mr. Bronson, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Eighth grade, though, let me guess. 150 pounder? 150 pounder? Potential 300 pound freak in the making. I mean, you never know. Potentially not 300 pounds, but you get what I'm saying. But that one's to you, man. Keep up the energy. So, plan for tonight. Go home and grub on something. I'm getting a little itch. I'm getting a little idea bubbling up in the back of my brain, or more than likely probably in my fucking stomach, that's making me say, get Buffalo Wild Wings. Get Buffalo Wild Wings. 20 traditional mild. None of this boneless crap. Probably not tonight. But maybe, you know. I was just kind of thinking to myself, I should probably make like a very in-depth kind of video about what I think about what it is that tracking your macros really even means, because when I say it, it's a little bit too ambiguous. I'm not really giving specific advice. I'm just kind of saying do something without actually really explaining it. So I'll try to get into that in depth a little bit, maybe soonish. That's on the docket, as well as a full day of eating and a grocery haul. Coming very soon, don't worry. Do not freaking worry. I know I've been holding it off for you. But there's a lot of shit to it. I'll get into it just a touch here before we talk about something else. But I mean, you get your carbs, your fats, your proteins. I'll save it for later. But definitely something which is going to require a little bit of thought. I did not just start curling the dumbbells that were in my dad's old dumbbells in the basement, and also thought to myself, okay, I should probably have some high glycemic carbs post-workout to immediately make use of my insulin response. I was not thinking anything even close to that anything close to that at all in the beginning. It was really, all right, I don't want to get big, let's eat a ton of protein. I was oh man, I was tracking it even way early, like year one. I'd go months on end where I'd plug in all my macros into like a Google sheet, and at 170 pounder, I had days where I would do 500 grams of protein. Now I was doing mainly like 350, 400, because in my mind I was like, okay, 2 grams per pound of body weight, let's do it. Perfect. Completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary protein intake. And then days when I went extra crazy, dude. But that's basically all I ate. Like, I wasn't eating a crazy amount of carbs and fats or anything. It was like just a half-pound cut of turkey off of like a Costco like sealed like 15-pound or like 10-pound turkey breast, and I just cut pieces off of it. And like that was all I was eating this time. So my amino acid intake was perfect. The protein intake was solid. I was not maximizing my carb intake for the actual performance benefits that you can get from it. But it's everybody starts out like that. I want to get bigger muscles. Muscles are made of protein. Let's eat more protein. But the more you get into it, the more you start to kind of get the grasp of like how things are really going to work and what it's going to change for you, and how to adjust accordingly over time for whatever your goals are. I mean, I have to eat more food basically every month to keep gaining weight, because as I get bigger each month, my body needs more weight to even just stay the new weight that I've gained, right? A fucking whale needs to eat 1,000,000 calories, not because he's burning that many, but because, well, in a way he is, just to maintain all that muscle on his frame and to keep, get enough oxygen in there and everything else. So if you're dieting down, same thing. You're going to have to eat less over time if you want to maintain the same rate of fat loss. There's all sorts of little tips and tricks about it, which, I'm no food scientist, I'm no nutritionist per se, but I've got a pretty reasonable grasp on how to manipulate my dieting for whatever goals physically that I want to achieve. So gaining weight right now, eating a ton of food in a very meticulous way, increasing over time, so I can continue to put on muscle over these 6, maybe even 7 months, but probably closer to 6. And then when I peel down, I mean, look, I think I've got a reasonable fucking reputation for being a mildly dirty bulker. But, dude, the fat loss techniques seems to be working, because I really have no problem peeling down. So I don't attribute that to like being a genius. I don't attribute that to like, oh, I've got the craziest genetics ever in the world. It's just there's a couple of kind of key points which, once you can wrap your head around and apply to your own like situation, then results will be pretty fucking easy to obtain. And maybe not easy in terms of your physical effort. Like, it's still hard to diet. I'm still like, I'm definitely tempted to like eat extra treats, even though I'm trying to stay in a deficit. But I know if my end goal is trying to get leaner, then that difficulty is worth it, right? So it's like you could have somebody who's just as smart as you, like let's say base IQ, maybe even someone who's a little bit smarter than you. But if they've never played any chess before, you could still beat them, because you know the rules. You know the tips and tricks. So if you can become a little bit more, I think I want to say, kind of fluent in getting at least a basic grasp of the overarching effects that like eating a crazy surplus of carbs is going to do, or crashing your carbs to like 100 grams per day, and little things like that, then it's no longer a question of if. And I think that's where a lot of people stand when it comes to dieting. And I mean, even gains in general, because everybody can get into the gym and start working out and gain like 15 pounds of muscle. Like, if you seriously locked in, I'm not talking about your diet. I'm not talking about like having the most insanely perfect optimal training ever. But if you lifted just basic kind of push-pull legs workouts, like you copy some of your friends or you listen to some videos and stuff, and you just worked out every day for 2 years, hard, 15 pounds of muscle, if you've never worked out before, I think that's extremely feasible from 0 to 2 years. But after that period, it gets harder. Gains get more difficult to achieve as time progresses. So that's where the guys who, can really manipulate everything else that's going to be related to the gains are going to continue to make marginal progress. And I'm not saying an extra 15 pounds that year, but I mean, as long as you're making, a couple pounds every so often, you're solid. So it does feel like a chore. It does kind of feel like studying. I mean, I remember when I was looking up like just all sorts of different kind of basic training idea kind of videos, where it's like how to eat to build muscle. Like, literally type it in the Google search bar. It's like best diet for gaining muscle, working out, best like little shit like that. And yeah, sure, it's funny to laugh at now. It's like, oh, what's the best workout for chest? But if you never worked out before and you don't, you just don't know any better yet, then yeah, that's what you got to do. So don't just put off that little bit of outside the gym knowledge gathering because it feels a little bit silly, and you're like, well, I know this stuff already. It's like, dude, we've all heard the phrase, man. Somebody who asks a silly question's a fool for a minute, but somebody who never asks a question at all is a fool for life. So don't be afraid to acknowledge your potential gaps in like lifting knowledge and try to fill them in. Because if you never acknowledge them and you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing all the fucking time, then that's why we have guys that are like, there's no way that I could work out 6 days a week. Somebody that can work out 6 days a week, clearly they just have superior genetics. It's like, okay, I mean, maybe, but let me ask you this. Is your diet that consists primarily of Starbucks, Pringles, and Monster energy drinks combined with 3 hours of sleep? Do you think that's conducive with, weekly training? Maybe not. Maybe fucking not. So, like I said 2 seconds ago, the guys who get everything else in order outside the gym are going to perform the best in the gym. So, that's my little end speech there, So, try to maybe look up some dieting tutorial videos of various complexities and try to get a little bit of a grasp on it. And I'm not saying become a dieting professional overnight, but if you can just get a little more fucking a little bit more of an understanding of it, I think you'll be able to reap the benefits if you so choose. But yeah, eventually I better put that on the docket. Maybe you'll see a video of me in like some office with a whiteboard drawn out like, so this is your car, some shit like that. But time will tell. So, solid arm day. Let's go home and eat. So I'll see you tomorrow for what I believe is going to be a full-on leg day with heavy pressing. Left knee is feeling reasonable. But if it feels like shit when I try to do like some heavy leg press, got no choice but to back off, stick with some lighter squeezing stuff than leg extension, and come back stronger next leg day, rather than sacrifice potentially my fucking knee health for a reasonably long period of time just because I wanted to do heavy squats out of nowhere. But we'll see tomorrow, so I'll see you then.